This video is brought to you by me. For $1 a month, you can support the channel directly and help me keep doing what I love. Thanks for watching and supporting. Warning: Conker's Bad Fur Day is not for the faint of heart. If you or a loved one are made deeply uncomfortable by the slaughter of cute cartoon woodland creatures at the hands of an unfeeling red squirrel, like I am, you might want to skip this one. Fair warning, like seriously, this game is surprisingly gruesome. Don't say I didn't warn you. For a very long time, I considered Conker's Bad Fur Day one of my holy grail games. I would have been happy just to have the cartridge. I didn't even need it complete in box. And for a long time, I vowed to wait until I owned it to play it. However, as prices rose and the further we got from the N64 days, I started holding out less and less hope that I would find a copy for myself that wasn't a reproduction cart or an official cart mangled beyond repair. So one day while I was shopping at my closest second and Charles, they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. They had an immaculate copy of Conker Live and Reloaded, the HD, quote-unquote, remaster of sorts that came out on the original Xbox that upgrades the graphics and added an online multiplayer mode. This port is kind of controversial among Conker fans because the language in the game was toned down quite a bit, meaning the characters aren't as colorful as they were in the original version. Conker uses a spiked baseball bat for all of the game instead of starting off with a frying pan, but besides that, the game remains relatively the same outside of some standard remastered upgrades. For instance, Conker now wears full-on costumes and outfits depending on what chapter he is in. The graphics look pretty good, and the colors of the world are vibrant in the way you expect a Rareware game to look. The rest of the changes I am saving until later when they're relevant. Seeing Live and Reloaded in person was almost like meeting a celebrity. My heart skipped a beat. I had never seen either version in person before, not even in a glass case to protect it from some thieves. And here it was, sitting on a shelf among 85 copies of Madden 03. The price wasn't too bad as far as Live and Reloaded goes, and compared to the cost of the N64 version, it was an outright steal, so I decided it was mine. Still, I had been putting off playing it in order to still experience Bad Fur Day on the N64 because it's widely considered the superior version. But in the recent weeks, I've been exposed to COVID multiple times, canceled all of my plans, and you know what? F*** it. I need some levity and joy in my life. I gave it a shot. And I'm glad I did, because it was not worth the wait. I'm disappointed, I really am. For years I thought Conker's Bad Fur Day was a diamond in the rough, a masterpiece that didn't get a chance to succeed because it came out just a bit too late on a dying system. I mean, the reviews and Metacritic score could have fooled me. I think I should clarify something here. Conker's Bad Fur Day isn't a bad game, it's just that the lows are really low. That's not to say that the highs aren't high, it's just... God, the lows are low. Conker the Red Squirrel is an asshole, and he's not made out to be anything but an asshole. Our epilogue starts with Conker sitting on a throne, which slowly zooms out to show us the characters we will meet along our journey. We cut back to a bar where Conker is lying to his girlfriend Barry about why he's going to be home late. After calling it an evening, Conker drunkenly sets off on his way home, setting him off on a path he doesn't really realize he's about to go on. At the same time, the mythical Panther King sits upon his throne, enjoying a glass of milk until his side table falls over, spilling the white nectar all over the floor. A leg of the table has broken off, and after sticking his best scientist on the case, the Professor Von Krippelsack deduces that to fix the table, he must find a red squirrel, an animal that has the perfect height to replace the table leg and hold it in place. The Panther King's soldiers set forth into the world to capture the elusive red creature, and in turn become the main enemies you see in this port. While Conker's main objective is allegedly getting home, Conker wants more than anything to be rich, and in turn is easily sidetracked by people who are willing to bribe him in exchange for help. This occasionally leads to wild and unbelievable moments. Throughout my entire 10-hour journey, my jaw was on the floor, not entirely believing what I was seeing. One, because there are a lot of fun movie homages that are really well done and go beyond just referential humor. Conker and Barry reenact one of the most iconic scenes from The Matrix where Barry acts as Trinity by running up walls and braining enemies with knives. Two, because Conker's Bad Fur Day features some of the most absurdist, off-the-wall shit I have ever seen in a video game. There is truly nothing like some of the stuff you see here. Of course, by now you've probably heard of the legendary Mighty Pooh, and you might have even possibly heard of the well-endowed Sunflower who you have to help a disgraced king bee pollinate. I cannot believe I just said those words. But perhaps I can interest you in some deeper cuts, like how one of Conker's abilities is getting hammered drunk and peeing on enemies to fight them or solve problems. Or how the time Conker incubates a dinosaur egg, hatches it, and leads this newborn creature to an immediate death as a sacrifice to a bloodthirsty idol in order to enter its mouth, where he stumbles upon a wolf headdress, puts it on, and accidentally becomes a tribal leader of cavemen, who he once again leads to an early demise by making them fight rock monsters. Through most of this game, Conker is chaotic, callous, cold, and outright evil. He hates everyone without prejudice, he has no moral compass, and kills anyone in his way indiscriminately. He is an unfeeling rodent. He might be one of the most unlikable protagonists in video game history, only given a pass because of his iconic, adorable design. He's not even funny. Funny things happen to him, but Conker himself rarely does anything or says anything funny. But even though I never rooted for Conker, I was constantly looking forward to what would happen to him next. Even when I thought I knew what was coming, I was usually proven wrong. However, when the game did have its predictable moments, namely in the gameplay department, it was always for the worse. It says a lot that Conker's Bad Fur Day has some of the most uninspired gameplay of any Rareware game I've ever played. This is the company that made Donkey Kong Country, Banjo-Kazooie, and GoldenEye, the last of which has granted aged pretty poorly. The bar was high. There are staple platforming mechanics from the time, like high jumps and the flutter jump in the form of Conker spinning his tail to stay afloat, but unique to the Xbox version is a god-awful melee system where you have to press B to enter a third-person aiming mode where you swing Conker's bat like he's firing a gun, which means you have to wield your weapon before use. It's completely unnecessary, and it seems like a change for the sake of making a change. It works fine when you want to equip guns later in the game, but for handheld weapons, it's completely clunky. It took my already middling feelings about the gameplay and lowered them another notch. More than anything, I got bored with the back and forth fetch quests that plagued the entire game. It's not enough to bring one piece of cheese to a mouse in order to coax him away from bothering these two box people. You have to bring him enough to make him explode and die. It's not enough that you roll this ball of shit up a hill once. Do it again. Probably the most experimental mechanic in Conker's Bad Fur Day is the use of a context-sensitive B button. Every time the button can be used to do something unique, a light bulb appears above Conker's head that will let you know to press the B button. If you aren't familiar with what context sensitivity is, I'm sure you've seen it before. Basically, it means that the purpose of a button will change depending on the context you're in. So if you've ever played a modern game that doesn't have a jump button, but you get prompts to press A to vault a fence or take cover depending on what you're trying to do, that's context sensitivity. I have mixed feelings about context sensitivity in games because a lot of the time it's not handled particularly well. In Conker's Bad Fur Day, it's incredibly heavy-handed. And to me, that ever-evolving use of the button takes away from opportunities to create engaging gameplay. Instead of using environmental clues to solve puzzles, you just look for the big-ass bee on the ground and do whatever it decides to make you do at that point. In some cases, it works alright, like when you walk up to it, pull out a rocket launcher, and then you have to aim and blow up boats shooting missiles at you. It's not particularly fun, but at least it involves some skill. Where it really starts to get grating is when the context-sensitive button removes strategy from boss fights. Check out this caveman Ooga Booga battle. Wait until he winds up to strike, bite him in the crotch, run around until you see a light bulb, and then lather, rinse, and repeat. It's not fun at all, not even remotely interesting. To be entirely honest, if this gameplay would have been attached to anything other than the set pieces and shock value of Conker's Bad Fur Day, this would be the latest entry in the recycling bin that holds the scripts of all of my scrapped videos. But even then, I also wish I could say that the entirety of the game was gut-bustingly hilarious too, but a lot of the time it isn't. Now, I don't want to go any further without saying humor is entirely subjective, and all forms of comedy are valid as long as you don't disguise prejudice as a punchline, David. I would also like to say I love a good well-timed fart to break the awkward silences. I don't want to make myself out as seeming like I'm above it. I'm just like you. When I have to take a shit, I sit on the toilet one cheek at a time. But there is so much goddamn scatological humor in this game. The Mighty Pooh, a revelation. We must keep feeding him corn chunks and protecting him at all costs. But it gets to a point where even someone who lives on a strict comedy diet of fart jokes and toilet humor can't defend how much scat there is here. It feels like a crutch rather than a creative choice. Like there is an entire world inside of this game that revolves around shite. I think we could all agree that the poop jokes should have been reeled in a bit and kept exclusive to this area, Rare. But instead, bathroom humor is shoehorned into every part of the game. Did we really need a long cutscene showing this bug with TNT on his back explaining how he had no toilet paper? Or hey, we're in this cool Van Helsing-inspired world where you blow zombie heads off with a shotgun in a surprisingly palpable and satisfying way, and now Conker gets tricked into becoming a vampire bat by the owner of the castle? I bet he has some cool abilities now. Oh, what's that? He just drops shit on people? Oh, I guess that's a choice. I just have a hard time believing, even 20 years ago, that this game was considered uproariously hilarious. Gameplay and humor, of course, both age in time, and I understand that maybe the gameplay wasn't as bland back then, even if you compare it to the better Rareware games of the time. I'm sure some of it has to do with the fact that the game was heavily aimed at frat bros who also probably made up a good portion of people in games media back then, but a part of me believes the hype behind this game is due to how far it pushes the envelope, which it absolutely does. I still find myself trying to wrap my head around how Bad Fur Day was released in the first place, and on the N64 of all places. The N64. It's unfathomable. It really is. I've tried explaining things I've seen in this game to 8-Bit Jesus over text, and I swear it's like trying to explain a fever dream. I know people, including myself, have issues with the censorship of language on the Xbox port, mainly due to how completely unnecessary it is. But like really, who cares in the grand scheme of things? Almost anything besides language was untouched. It's not like any of the batshit, unbelievable stuff I've mentioned is any less shocking than before, because the furry woodland creatures can't say shit. In fact, I would urge anyone asking why there was never a sequel to this game to actually try playing it. The gameplay isn't good enough to warrant a sequel, and there is no way in hell a game as crude as Bad Fur Day is marketable for a buttoned-up company like Microsoft in 2021. It would have to be completely overhauled to have better mechanics and neutered comedy, and that's not going to please any of the fans of this game. And of course, now that I've made this video and this statement that cannot be altered on YouTube after posting, I am sure I will be proven wrong, as Live and Reloaded was just given away for Xbox Games with Gold not too long ago, which I'm sure will spark a comeback campaign for our red squirrel. I don't know if I'll ever get the urge to play Conker's Bad Fur Day ever again, but I do feel like it's a game that will live in my subconscious for a long time. I can't wait for the day my brain resurrects the memory that Conker stormed the beaches of Normandy to kill Nazi teddy bears and fought German rat scientists who threw syringes at you. It's not a game for everyone, not even for me, but I recommend playing it at least once. For the endless flaws it has, it's worth putting up with a single time just to see Conker's journey through. Just to remember that this game exists, because you might not believe all I've said unless you see it for yourself. Thank you so much for watching my video, I really appreciate it. If you really hated my opinions on this game you no doubt grew up with, smash that like button to show you appreciate discussion and value my thoughts as a person, and leave a comment calmly explaining why I am wrong, because that always goes really well. If you want to see more videos where I don't usually go as hard on games I cover, subscribe to the channel because I have videos coming out all the time. Lastly, if you want to support the channel directly, check out my Patreon in the description below. For as little as $1 a month, you can help keep the channel going. I'd also like to take a moment and thank my higher tier patrons Andrew Lang, Andrew Elmore, 8-Bit Jesus, Okayla, and Just Jessica. Thank you again, and I will see you in the next video.